Today we've got another board game haul. Alright everyone, welcome back to After Evenfall, a channel all about inspiring you to embark on adventures from home. My name is Bailey, and today we are going to go through a recent board game haul that we did. So just as a heads up, for some of this video, I do have my 3D printer going in the background, so it might be a little bit noisy. I can't really get it to get any quieter than it is, so you're gonna have to kind of bear with me on that. But getting into it a little bit more, so my husband and I recently went on a vacation. We did a road trip to Utah. We have a bunch of family there, so we went to go kind of hang out there for a few days, and while we were there, we decided to do a big old board game store crawl vacation. So we went to a total of, I think we did around 11 stores if you count Target for board games, and I'm going to get into where we went, what we saw, what we bought, and what we thought of everything. So let's get into it. All right, so store number one that we went to is a store based in Ogden, Utah called Heebie-Jeebies. Now, I have to admit that I have been here before. This is a store that I have gone to almost every time that we go to Utah. I'm way more familiar with it. And another thing that we tried to do while we were on this vacation is every board game store that we went to, we wanted to buy at least one board game from. And because I'm familiar with Heebie-Jeebies selection, we went with a game that I've had recommended to me by a bunch of you over comments, and I am so excited about it. And that is Star Wars the Deck Building game. So I have played it now, and I do have an idea of what I'm going to say in my review for it. I'm not going to give my review right now. I am excited to share more about it later. So at Heebie-Jeebies, one of the things that I really love about it is they have some of the best staff that I've ever met at a board game store. They are so sweet. There's one guy and one girl in particular, I won't name names, but every time I go in, they are so ready and willing to help you find any game that you're looking for, or if you're looking for recommendations, they are always just very bubbly and excited to tell you more about some things that they might think that you'd like. And I personally am very impartial to the store just because it is a store that I am more familiar with, but that is Heebie-Jeebies. So the next board game store that we went to is another one that I'm familiar with. Now, I will say that Heebie-Jeebies and this next board game store are the only two stores that I have been to prior to this board game crawl that we did. Board game store crawl, friendly local gaming store crawl. I don't know. But so this store is called Gamers Asylum. And one thing that I will say about Gamers Asylum is they have a really fantastic selection of games. I love that they have like multiple rows of them. They have tons of them available, and they have all sorts of different kinds of games. The staff has always been really great there to us, and it's always one that I try to go to every time we head over in that direction. Now, Gamers Asylum is located it's in Riverdale, so it's a little bit closer. It's right in between Ogden and Layton, for anyone who's familiar with the area. But while we were there, I have also bought a lot of their games in the past. So I went with a game that I have seen recommended by other board gamers on YouTube, and that is Globetrotting. So this one is a big one. It's got like these plastic globes that you can I think you can write on them. Yeah, we haven't played it yet, but this is the game that we got from Gamers Asylum. All right, so after we went to Heebie-Jeebies and Gamers Asylum, we stayed in Salt Lake City while we were there, and we went to City Creek Center, and City Creek Center has this little toy store available there. And we just went into the toy store because I have some kids and we thought it would be fun to bring them home like a little souvenir or something. And I was kind of surprised to see a whole wall of board games. We didn't end up buying anything there just because, well, first of all, it wasn't really like a board game store. And second of all, we were kind of window shopping. We weren't really planning on buying anything there when we went in the first place. But they did have a really good selection there as well. And yeah, that's another board game store that we went to. So the next board game store that we went to was Oasis Games, and this one is based in Salt Lake City, like kind of downtown Salt Lake City, and I was pleasantly surprised by this store overall. They have a very streamlined theme to their store. Like everything looks very, very well categorized. They have everything sorted out so well. The store itself is very well put together. They have this awesome board gaming table section where they have their own logo kind of on the nearby the tables and stuff, and it just looks overall really, really great. Their store is awesome, and the staff was really great there as well. And like I said, their selection is really, really good. I mean, they had rows and rows and rows and rows and rows, because sometimes you'll go into board game stores, and I don't want this to sound like I'm dogging anyone, or anything in particular, but I have not played Warhammer. It's not something that I've super been interested in, or it's not something that I've really been interested in. But most of the time when I go to board game stores, I kind of find that there will be a massive like area that's for Warhammer, and then sometimes they'll have a littler section for board games. What I loved about Oasis Games is their main focus seemed to be their board games. They had it was like a library of board games, and then they had kind of their Warhammer and all their minis and stuff and their paints off to a different side. And the area was really open, made it really easy for shopping, and we ended up buying, while we were there, we got two. We got Chronicles of Crime. This one is a deduction game, and I have been really interested to get it out and play it. We haven't played it yet, but we got Chronicles of Crime, and then we also got, trying to make sure you guys don't see the price tag, we also got Charterstone, mostly because I really want to get into more campaign-based games, and this is one that's a competitive legacy game. I'm very interested in it, and I'm really excited to get it out and learn it. Obviously, it's still in shrink wrap, so I haven't played it yet, and a lot of these games are. I mean, this is a relatively new haul for us, and this is a lot of games, so we are slowly chugging through the pile. But yep, next game that we got at Oasis Games was Charterstone, and that was it for Oasis Games. And then the next game store that we went to was a store called Game Night Games. That one is also in Salt Lake, but it is not in like the central Salt Lake. It's off on the edges a little bit. And they had a very streamlined store as well. They had a really great selection, and whoever was working the front was just phenomenal. Like, he had so much energy, and he was so sweet and so nice, and I had such a good time getting to know a little bit more about their store and things like that. Really cool guy, really cool store. And while we were there, we bought, let me see if I can find it amidst my pile of everything. We bought Freelancers. This is a campaign game that I've been really interested in. They do have an app associated with it that can do voiced characters for you, and I think that's really cool because I'm someone who gets a little self-conscious. My one hold up to D&D is I do get a little self-conscious about doing the voices and stuff, but I think that it would be fun to have this kind of be a segue into that a little bit more so, and I've been really excited for this game, and that is Freelancers. And that was the end of Game Night Games for us. We only bought one game there. I could have bought more. I should have bought more because they ended up having a bunch that I wanted. And I held off because I was like, oh, I don't know how many more stores we're going to. And I should have just bought more. But the next game store that we went to was Demolition Games. Now, this game store looks very unassuming from the outside. It's in a strip mall. But the inside is just incredible. They have these amazing murals painted on the wall. Like, you first walk in and they have this little tiny storefront, and then you can kind of look off to the side, and then there's the shopping section where they have all the board games listed alphabetically. Massive selection. I mean, I didn't hardly see any duplicates of any games, and there were just hundreds of them. And they had this really cool loft area where people were playing, I think it was D&D or some other RPG, and in that section of the store, I mean, their murals, they were incredible. I will insert some B-roll of it because it was just so phenomenal to look up the wall and see all these cool murals all over the wall. And then there was this other room that was separate where you can rent out the room for certain events or tournaments or things like that. And the staff there was also super nice. I mean, I talked to the main staff member there at the time that we were there about Lorcana for a really long time, and it was really fun to get to know them better and to kind of see where they really shine in the board game industry. And I had such a good time there, and that was Demolition Games. And I'll say it in a minute. Okay. So when we were at Demolition Games, my husband picked out one game, I picked out one game, but he picked out Tic-Tac-KO, Evil versus Cute. And I picked out, if I can get it. I picked out Aquatica, the expansion, the Cold Waters expansion. I really like the base game of Aquatica a ton, and I've been looking for the Cold Waters expansion for a while. So it was really cool to find it there. Again, massive selection. And they had it was cool to have it sorted out alphabetically, because if you're going there knowing what game you want, it makes it so easy to just walk over and find it. And they had a ton of Star Wars minifigures there as well that were really, really cool. And they had a whole section for painting and Warhammer and stuff like that too. It was a really cool store, and that was Demolition Games. So the next game store, I'm a little regretful to admit that of all the places that I went, I did end up going to Target. And that was only because I kept seeing an expansion to a game that I really wanted at almost every single board game store, but I could not find the base game to save my life, but I knew they sold it at Target. So we ended up going to Target so I could buy Casting Shadows. It is adorable. I was really nervous that I would hate this one just because I am not the biggest fan of unstable unicorns, or there's also Llamas Unleashed, I think. I can't remember exactly. But I haven't been the biggest fan of unstable games in the past, but we really like this one. So anyway, so we went to Target so that I could buy Casting Shadows because the expansion looked so fun. And I felt like if I wanted to buy the expansion, I had to get the base game first. And Target was the only place I found out of all the board game stores that we went to. Target was the only one that sold Casting Shadows. So that's my defense for that. But Casting Shadows, Target. All right, so after that, we did it was a ton of board game stores. So from Oasis Games through until Demolition Games and Target, that was all one day. And then the Heebie-Jeebies and Gamers Asylum and the Red Balloon Toy Store were all the day before. So it was a lot of board game stores for the day. We kind of wanted to try something else. So we went and did Top Golf for a little bit with some friends that we have that still live in Utah. And it was really fun to just hang out with them and chill for a while and take a break from all the board game stuff. And then we got right back into it. And after Top Golf, we went to High Gear Games and Hobbies. Now, this store also had a good selection and a really sweet staff. I really liked the girl at the front. She was really, really nice, who helped us out. And one thing that we thought was interesting was my husband actually bumped into a really old friend of his that he hasn't seen or heard from in a really long time. So that was fun. But High Gear Games and Hobbies, we got The Lost Species. And this one, if anyone is familiar with the Search for Planet X, it's a very similar format, app-driven deduction game. It's really fun. And that was High Gear Games and Hobbies. Okay, so the next board game store that we went to is also one that I had been recommended to by a neighbor of ours, and that was Haster Games. So while we were at Haster Games, they have a very open selection. I like it when stores could be a little more open, kind of makes me feel a little less compressed. Sometimes with board game stores, you're just like tight and snug in there. Anyway, the store was really, really nice, really open. They had a lot of tables for extra gaming experiences, and it was overall a really cool place to go to. While we were there, we bought Bridgerton, the High Society game. And then I also my husband picked this one out, and that was The Number. We haven't played it yet, but it is 3 to 5 players, and it's a bluffing game. So we thought it might be fun to add to maybe a more party game selection for us. And those were the games that we got at Haster Games. Oh, and then I also I have one thing that I bought that I cannot remember for the life of me what store I bought it at. I'm pretty sure I bought it at Haster Games, but I'm not 100% certain. But I'm going to insert it right here. I got the Casting Shadows expansion, and I think I got it at Haster Games because I think it was the next store that I found that had it after we bought the base game. But I did buy the expansion to it, and it is so cute. But I'll get into it a little bit later because I have some more stuff about this. All right, and then the last unique store that we went to was a store called Riftgate Games. That one is in another strip mall, and it was a really fun experience to go check it out. The person at the front desk was really, really nice there as well. And while we were there, we got Amritsar. I hadn't heard of this game. I've never seen it before, but I love themes like this. I love cultural-based themes. I just think it's so cool to learn more about them while you're playing games. So that is Amritsar, and that was Riftgate Games. So to end off our board game trip, we ended up there was one other store that we circled back to just because there was one game that we had seen at that store and we hadn't seen it in any subsequent stores since that we really, really wanted. And we ended up blowing way more than we probably should have on too many games because we knew it was going to be our last board game store. So we just bought whatever we wanted that was there that we had left. And we went back to Demolition Games just because it was the last place that we'd seen this copy. But we got Thunder Road Vendetta. And let me tell you, I have had so many people since I bought this tell me that the Kickstarter and the backer kit is open for backing this. I tried to back it and it was closed and I thought I couldn't back it anymore. So I finally was like, whatever, I'll just buy Thunder Road Vendetta. I bought the base copy and then they reopened the backer kit. So if anyone wants an upgraded version of this game, you can go to BackerKit and you can order it now, but I did not, so this is probably what I'm just going to end up with for the time being. I just can't bring myself to buy a second copy of the game when I already have the base one right now, and I haven't even played it yet. Obviously, it's still in the shrink wrap, but we are super excited about this one. I think my husband is really going to love it, and I'm really excited to get it out and play it, and that is Thunder Road Vendetta. And then we also got... This one was on sale, and I've had this one on my list for forever on Amazon. And that one is Babylonia. I mentioned it before on this channel. I love historical themes. I love cultural-based themes. This one fits the historical bill, and that is Babylonia. I'm really excited to learn this one. And yeah. And then my husband picked out this one, and that one was Unmatched. I've had a ton of you tell me that this is the same mechanic uses the same mechanic as Star Wars Duels. And we love Star Wars Duels. It's a really old game. We ended up buying an eBay unopened copy and laminating all the cards to it, which I have since learned you're not supposed to laminate, you're supposed to sleeve. But in my defense, we didn't know that at the time. We were new in the hobby. And anyway, so I've heard that this mechanic is the same, that it's basically a reskin version of the game. We've been really excited to get it, and we finally purchased it, and I cannot wait to get it out and play it. And this one is the Medusa, King Arthur, Alice, and Sinbad. So anyway, I'm really excited about that, and that is not Marvel Unmatched. What am I saying? It's just Unmatched. Battle of Legends Volume 1. All right, so the last things that I got at Demolition Games are not, in fact, a game itself, but they were too adorable for me to pass up, and I ended up not buying 2 of them, and I have been kicking myself ever since. I should have just bought all of them, but they are kind of expensive. No, they are pretty expensive. Not kind of. But I got the vinyl figures for Casting Shadows. So I got these ones I already opened, so I can't like show you in the display because they were all falling over. But we got the cutest little axolotl. I don't know if you can see it, but it's adorable. And the axolotl comes with like its bigger figure. And then there's also this wolf one and the wolf giant figure. And so we got those ones. And then we also I got the cute polar bear and then the icy polar bear, like big character. And let's see, what else do I have? And then I got the fox one. So the only ones we don't have there's like a lizard and dragon themed one. And then there's also a bird and like a griffin themed one that we did not get. But I mean, you guys, these are so cute. I could not pass them up because I am a sucker for anything adorable. And the gameplay is really fun. So that definitely helped to sell me on it. But that was our board game vacation that we took, and those were all the board game stores that we hit up. So technically I think it was 11 of them. I think in total we bought about 20 items, and I am so excited to learn all of these games and add them to my collection, and I can't wait to be able to give reviews on them and share them with you guys a little bit better. And yeah,